Vincent Apostolico. I was an AW chief. I was deployed to Newfoundland. We were there for 6 months. There's no place to go. You know, you're in the barracks, you were flying, or you were at the EM club. We did a lot out of Newfoundland. We ran into a lot. But funny story, we were in Argentia, and the DEW line, which is the Defense Early Warning System up north, they had to take a bunch of aerographers, which are weathermen, and we flew out of Argentia up to Greenland. First stop was Sonderstrom, the next stop was Thule, up over the Arctic Circle, and then back down. And these guys were plotting the flow of the icebergs so that they could figure out when and how they could get the ships up to replenish the DEW line. So we had a co-pilot who had an eye infection, and he had a patch that he wore for quite a while. I mean, it was all cleared up. And we had a chief who was one of the sensor operators who wore very thick glasses. So our pilot, Captain Smith, we go up to the air ops to meet the aerographers that were taken with us. So Mr. Douglas puts his eye patch on, and Captain Smith borrows the chief's Coke bottle glasses. And we walk in, and they introduce themselves to the aerographers. Well, you should have seen the looks on their faces. You know, this is our pilot and our co-pilot. But it was a good time. Everything worked out well. Got hit by lightning in Argentia once, blew the nose radome off, melted the radar antenna. That was different. It hit the radome, which is fiberglass, and blew that apart. And then it hit the radar antenna, which melted, and then it traveled down the airplane and came out the horizontal stabilizer. It had a V burned in it. Yeah. One guy I remember, because once that happens, and we were coming in for a landing at the time, and once that happens, and the pilot says, you know, prepare to ditch. So the one guy grabbed his helmet, and he went from the front of the airplane to the back of the airplane to the front of the airplane to the back of the airplane, and finally lashed himself into the galley. And I said, what was that? He goes, I'm trying to figure out which end of the airplane I want to crash in, because, you know, usually the airplane would break in half. So he said, I didn't know which end of the airplane I wanted to be in after it crashed. That airplane is very, very strong, you know, very capable. As far as I can remember, because when from off the East Coast, we were stationed in Bermuda, and I think we had a lot of activity there too. It was Kinley Air Force Base. It was called NAF, Naval Air Facility, on Kinley Air Force Base. Yeah, and the weather was nice, that's for sure. You know, a lot nicer than Newfoundland. But the operations were pretty much the same no matter where you flew out of. Because you usually had boxed lunches if you're going on a short trip, but if you're going to be out for 10 or 12 hours, they gave you food that we would cook on the airplane, you know. And that was pretty much standard, you know, it was all Navy issue, so, yeah. The only thing I remember when I was in Newfoundland the first time, they didn't have real milk. It was powdered milk. So, and that was a little hard to take, you know. I remember the only time I was ever scared, and well, we were out patrolling, and there was one of our submarines that surfaced, and we had taken the package that the sonobuoys come in. They're the things that you throw out and listen underwater, and filled it with magazines, cookies, all this kind of stuff. And we were going to drop it to the submarine. So the guy that was going to do the drop was lashed down to the deck with a rope, and he had a parachute on. We were well under 100 feet, and I was sitting by the door in the aft observer seat. Well, they opened the door so this guy could throw the sonobuoy container out, and I looked out the door, and I'm like, oh my, you know, the water is right there, and there's nothing between me and it. And it was like, I never realized that before, you know. So that was it.